Too often business owners today are focusing on the little things in business. They're ordering supplies, dealing with employees, and dealing with customers, when what we should be focusing on is the most important thing, cash flow. I've grown over 10 businesses from the ground up. In this podcast, you'll learn the ins and outs of building a business and how to build transferable value. And most importantly, you'll learn how to maximize cash. They call me Cashflow Mike, and this is the clear path to cash. Hey, it's Cashflow Mike, and it's no secret that I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and it's been a historic playoff run to the championship this year, and the Chiefs came back in all three games during the playoffs. That's right, they came back from behind all three times, and you know what's amazing about it is that they broke a 50-year Super Bowl drought. That's right, a 50-year Super Bowl drought was broken. And you know what? It's really easy to cheer for a comeback. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, you go through a full range of emotions, you know, from being super high to super low to not feeling like anything's going to happen at all. But it makes me wonder, you know, do we only do that in sports, or can you have comebacks in other things? Maybe like your small business, or maybe like business in general. Can you do that? So one of the reasons that I put this topic together this week is that I love the excitement of a comeback. I just do. I just love the excitement. And one of the biggest components of the comeback is that feeling that you're in an unwinnable situation. That's right. Just that you feel like, oh my God, I don't think we can do it. I mean, I think it's over. I think we're just done. Well, business feels like that sometimes. It really does. And, you know, we get into situations that we feel are impossible. And, you know, maybe you feel like there's nothing you can do but just give up. And I'm telling you, don't give up. Because if you're in that situation, if you ever have been, or if you're in that situation right now, you know, I found some stories that you might find interesting about business comebacks, right? So hopefully these stories are going to re-energize you. You know, they're going to help keep you look for a win, you know, looking for that win. And this could be the start of your comeback. So, hey, before we begin, let me know what you think of the show. Go to cashflowmike.com. I'm going to put the whole show notes up there. And any links that I mentioned from this episode. You can also go to YouTube and search for Cashflow Mike. You can see me in my Chiefs hat today on YouTube. I'll put this podcast on the YouTube channel. And, of course, make sure you subscribe and click that bell to get notified of future episodes. And lastly, find us on our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, any of those. Subscribe, leave me a review. Love to hear what you're saying. So let's get into it, right? Because I'm talking about comebacks. Mainly because I'm pumped up, right? I mean, we came back 3 weeks in a row to be able to win a championship. But I'm going to start off by connecting comeback to business. And I need to start with probably the most impressive or the most well-known comeback in business history. And it's so widely known that there's been a few movies that are even been made about it. And I'm talking about Apple, right? And after the firing of Steve Jobs, Apple kind of went on a death spiral, right? They were just kind of lost. They didn't know what they were going to do. They didn't have good leadership. The products weren't coming out with the same energy as they once had before. But this really gave him the platform for the big comeback. Right? He comes back, retakes control of the company, full management of the company, and turns it into what we know it is today with just 3 moves, right? You probably didn't know that. There were just 3 major things that he did that really turned around Apple's fortunes. So first of all, what he did was he infused capital into the company, right? I mean, it was death spiraling, money was bleeding out, so they needed money. What was the move he made? He sold rights to Microsoft, right? Who has the money? Well, your biggest competitor, right? You sell rights to Microsoft to be able to put Explorer and Office onto the Macintosh. And when he did that, he infused the company with capital, right? So he's got the money to do some different things now. Secondly, kind of what he did was that he started to put products in stores. Before that, I mean, it was harder to find Apple products. I mean, you had to go online, you had to buy them there, whatever. But he built the Apple Store. So when you build the Apple Store, now you're in front of the public. People can just walk in and talk to you and buy your products. So he's the one that opened the Apple stores. And then lastly, he built complementary products around his computers. So what that means is now you have not just the computer, the Macintosh, you got the iMac, you know, the laptop version, or you got the iPod. And then, of course, we're all carrying iPhones. So all 3 of those things today helped him turn Apple into what we see as a result. And believe it or not, nobody's remembering the dark days of Apple. They're just not. I mean, you can't do that if you spent, a week in line waiting for the latest iPhone to come out. So, I mean, nobody's remembering those dark days. But I don't want to just focus all on Apple. Let me give you a few more of some names that you might know that were in a bad spot. Believe it or not, Tesla, right? There was a point in time that Tesla was on the verge of extinction, and they were hit with some problems from financing because their investors stopped believing, right? So the money started to dry up. He had preached so long about the perfect electric vehicle and the ultimate electric vehicle that we now know as the Tesla itself. But it was almost done, right? He was almost out of money. But he's a never say die businessman, Elon Musk. And what he did was restructure the company to be able to keep it alive. And then he delivered on that promise, and it thrived, right? Because people were lining up. They were putting themselves on wait lists. They were, buying a car a year or two out just to be able to get the promise of what he promised was that electric vehicle, especially with the insane mode or ludicrous mode or whatever they call it now. And if you've ever ridden in a Tesla, it delivers on the promise. So when he restructured the company, it not only kept him alive, he was able to thrive, right? So, and today there are 3 different models of Tesla on the road. With a 4th one, they just exposed the truck, the Tesla pickup truck, on its way. It's going to be on its way. Here's the result. Here's what we know now. That was a few years back. He was in trouble. Here's what we know now. Last week, right before this podcast, they announced that his stock price, Tesla's stock price, hit $900 a share. Super amazing. From death to $900 a share. Are you kidding me? I mean, we're talking billions of dollars of trading dollars. Just right there. You talk about a comeback. Tesla was it. So, hey, before I complete, I've got another couple stories for you, but I want you to go to Cashflow Mike for any of our show notes and any of the links that I mentioned here in the episode. And hey, check me out on YouTube. Go to Cashflow Mike and subscribe to the channel. Making sure that you're being notified of any future episodes. Just click the bell. And then, of course, you can find us on iTunes or Spotify, Google Play, those type of things. So check me out in those. And hey, look forward to hearing from you. Please leave me a review and make sure you subscribe. So part 2, this is kind of the second part of the story. Part 2. So I'm watching TV last night and I run across a show on Netflix. Netflix, it's a show hosted by Will Arnett and it's called Lego Masters, right? So think about that. Lego Masters. It's a reality TV show where, adults are really building these massive creations, out of Legos. Well, what's funny about that is Legos is almost 100 years old, right? It's one of the old-fashioned toys that we probably all grew up with. And it takes a lot of imagination to work with Legos, right? Because you're building things that you can visualize in your mind. Around 2003, though, the mood of the consumer, and I'm talking kids, the mood of the kids shifted. It changed, right? Because we all moved to electronic gaming. We all moved to putting handheld devices or, Nintendo's, Ataris, whatever it is. It moved and it shifted. So we were more interactive with electronics than we were the old-fashioned toys like Legos or Lincoln Logs or any of those type of things that we remember. And what it did was hurt Lego as a company. Matter of fact, in 2003, 2004, they were losing to the tune of about $300 to $400 million a year. Right. So think about that. I mean, you're on the verge of bankruptcy when you're losing that type of money. That's where they're at. So what did they do? What's their turnaround? Right. First of all, I look now at my granddaughter. She's 2.5 years old. And I look now, and even she can manipulate electronics. She has a Kindle, and I've seen her play games on the Kindle, and she's good. Right? Probably better. I mean, how she figured out how to run a game on a Kindle, I'll never know. But she's good at it. That's what they did, right? Think about what I just said. A 2-year-old is intersecting or interacting with electronics. And not only that, the popular characters on electronics. We went through phases of Star Wars or Harry Potter or, Toy Story. It doesn't matter. What Lego did was very creative. They attached their product to the big pop culture names of the time. Whatever the movie was, whatever, was popular in the kids' minds, what they were doing, what they were watching, what they were playing with, what they were saying, what they were wearing. Lego attached themselves to it. So if you like the Millennium Falcon, you could build one. If you wanted Harry Potter's castle or Quidditch match arena, you could build it. That's what they did. They attached the popular names to their old-fashioned product and made it hip and made it relevant again and brought them out of bankruptcy. Think about this, where they're at now, because not only were they, attaching their name to the products of other movies like Harry Potter, like Star Wars, they started making their own movies, right? So now think about that. I'm watching the Lego movie, and now I can visualize a scenario in my head and imagine it and play with the Legos while I'm playing out the scene in my mind. If I'm a kid, it just sparks or re-invokes the imagination. So they've taken pop culture and combined it or overlaid it onto an old-fashioned product to make it hip and relevant again. I mean, it was just an amazing creative move that turned it around. So the result, Lego has regained its position in kind of a favorite toy. But here's what the latest show, right? I started off with Lego's Masters. It's also proving that, it's crossed over. Lego has crossed over from being a kid's toy to now an adult hobby, right? And so much so that it's entertaining to see these people putting Legos together and working on them on a TV show. Lego came back just from that, making it hip and relevant till today. So I know what you're thinking, right? Mike, this is a small business show, and all you've done is tell me about Lego, Tesla, and Apple. All of these are huge corporations with massive resources, people, money, you name it. How does it relate? What does it mean to me and my small business? Well, you know what? It's true, right? But here are some details behind it. Here's what I'm thinking. When you go through a comeback situation, when you're in that unwinnable, impossible situation and you come back to win, a few common things, right? From the Chiefs to Apple, to Lego, to Tesla. There's a few common things that you can take and put into your business today. So I'm going to kind of tell you about, what is it? I've written down 6 things here. I'm going to tell you about 6 different things that you can take away from all of these stories. And I'm going to put them, because of my love of the Chiefs, I'm going to put them in examples from the Chiefs football season this year in 2020 to help you understand what I'm talking about. So here's the first one, right? And this is the list of 6. Here's the first one. Don't be surprised, right? And what I mean by that is you got to know that setbacks are a natural part of just business. And that's why with the Chiefs, that's why the coaching staff makes game plans, right? And they prepare for situations like 3rd and long, because they know that it's going to happen. So don't be surprised that setbacks happen in your business, because they're going to, and they do. Here's number 2. First of all, it's not personal, right? It's just not. I know you always hear this. It's just business. It's not personal, but it's not you. And you got to look at circumstances objectively. And what I mean by that is, it may feel like when the Chiefs had a punt blocked, that it was the end of the world, right? It was an unforced error, but it wasn't the punter, right? It wasn't the long snapper. It wasn't them personally. It wasn't, that Dustin Colquitt was a terrible guy. It's the execution of the play needed analyzed. What happened? It's not the person, it's the play that didn't get executed right. So don't take it personal. Number 3 is learn a lesson. Everything you do, you need to learn a lesson on, and that means not to avoid into the same traps and, by not repeating your same mistakes. And that's why you'll see sometimes where an offense will use motion to be able to see what the defense is doing, because once they do it once or twice, they're going to see that there's a pattern that the defense kind of falls into, and then maybe what they won't do is, if they give up a sack to a blindside blitz, maybe by using that motion, they'll be able to see it coming faster because they saw it once already. So don't fall into the same traps. Try to figure out what's happening, what's the pattern, and don't repeat the poor patterns. Here's number 4. Get back in the game. And that's what I'm talking about. Get back in the game. If you've made mistakes, if you're having a setback right now, get back on the field, throw the next pass, run the next play. If you fumble, hold on to the ball a little bit tighter, but don't give up. Just don't give up. And, when the Chiefs at one point in time were committing a lot of turnovers and those unforced errors, they just stayed in the game and they didn't give up. I saw Patrick Mahomes on the sideline just making sure people stayed in the game mentally. It's you want to put that same player, back on the field so you can get your groove back. You won't get your groove back if you're sitting on the sidelines. So get back in the game and do the things that make you successful. Number 5 is catch yourself doing great things. Right. So when you're doing great things, catch yourself, celebrate those little wins. Those small wins all add up to the big comeback. So every first down, every touchdown, every defensive stop, creates that momentum. And then what you do as a team, you start giving each other the support you need to really celebrate with each other and achieve that massive comeback that we're talking about. So here's the last one, right? Get help. And teamwork is when everyone is playing their own little role, right? And the Chiefs covered each other's backs and sought help from the sidelines when they couldn't figure things out on the field or they were experiencing different things on the field. They got help, right? So don't be afraid to ask for help, right? We need to cover each other's blind spots. If you're good at one thing and not so good at another, ask somebody that is, right? We're all here to help. Make sure you're asking people. You can do the same as any football team on the field. Make sure that you're asking for help and everybody kind of do that job that they're good at to be able to achieve it. So, hey, I hope this gives you just a little bit of energy to attack your situation right now with enthusiasm and motivation right now. I want you to get back. It can be done. I mean, no matter what the situation you're in right now, how dire it may seem, you can come back. So what you've got to know is that your comeback story, it starts today. Yeah, that's right. So remember to, go Cashflow Mike for any of the show notes and questions regarding today's episode. You can always see me on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. And, of course, I'm on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play. Make sure you leave me a review. Let me know what you think about this. I threw this together just by, getting excited about the Chiefs this week. So my name is Cashflow Mike, and you have been listening to the Clear Path to Cash podcast. And thank you so much. And remember, don't be a dumb business owner.